Mr. Roјtен, there are broad discussions in the EU these days on the new strategic and defense policy of the bloc in the wake of the Russian aggression in Ukraine. Among other suggestions, there are calls for a stronger EU support for the countries of the Western Balkans. It's a vulnerable region of the continent. What is your position on this issue? How possible is it?
I think it's very important. I mean, what's happening in Ukraine is a disaster. It's terrible what's happening there with the invasion of Putin in Ukraine, a peaceful country. But we need to be aware that there are also dangers in the other important region of Europe, the Western Balkans. So I really agree that we have to be with the Western Balkan countries and do the utmost to preserve peace and stability also in the Western Balkans.
Do you feel that North Macedonia and Bulgaria are any closer in their positions after the new governments in Sofia and Skopje started some kind of quicker, more dynamic communication? Or we should wait for the results at the end of this French presidency of the EU, or even later? What do you think?
Well, I had the pleasure to speak earlier this week with the foreign minister of North Macedonia, Buja Osmani, and I will speak to the new prime minister later today, who is also here in Brussels. And I think the North Macedonian government is doing everything possible that it can do to speed up these things. And yes, there were some positive signals in the period just behind us, also from Sofia. But for me, that's not enough. And as you know, I'm a very strong supporter of starting these negotiations that, for me, are long overdue. It should have started much earlier, but we are not in a position to lose any more time now. And I also think that the best and the most positive signal that we can give to all countries that want to become a member of the European Union, that now, in the wake of all that was happening in Ukraine, want to speed up their path to the European Union membership. I think the best signal that we can give is to keep our promise to North Macedonia and Albania and start these negotiations tomorrow, because that is what means to keep your promise, and that is really what I'm a strong proponent of. So I really admire the patience and the efforts that are taken at this moment by everyone in the government in your country, and I do really hope that this terrible circumstances that we find ourselves in can actually mean something positive in terms of maintaining our promise to North Macedonia and to Albania and start these negotiations as soon as possible.
Have you had any discussions on your positions with your Bulgarian colleagues in the parliament? What is their position in the wake of crisis in Ukraine?
Well, I mean, there are different Bulgarian colleagues from different political groups. I did not speak to every one of them, and I'm sure you are aware of the different positions of Bulgarian MEPs also in the European Parliament. Some are much more cooperative, as I may say, and some are clearly want to continue, if I may say so, this discussion. And I think we simply do not have the luxury to continue that discussion any further, and especially to the people. And I think that it's a matter that is in the hands of the Bulgarian parliament at the moment, the Bulgarian government. And I do hope that apart from their understandable support for Ukraine, I also support Ukraine with everything I can. But I think, as I said before, that everyone who now is saying, look, we need to be stronger in our relationship also with countries like Ukraine, like Moldova, should also look at their position with regard to North Macedonia, especially the Bulgarian government. I expect them also to learn from this situation that we find ourselves in and really now step over these last issues. As I said, I think that North Macedonia did even more than you could expect from a country to accommodate the wishes of the European member states, including Bulgaria. So I think it's now time. We do not have the luxury to wait any longer. Albania and North Macedonia deserve to start as soon as possible.
Is this really not only a question of enlargement, but a strategic and security issue on the European continent?
You're absolutely right, and that's also what I'm constantly saying when we are talking about the Western Balkans. This is not just about the process of enlargement and a process that unfortunately has not been that credible from the European Union in the years behind us. But this is indeed, as you say, a strategic question for both of us, for the countries in the Western Balkans, but also for the European Union. So I also say to the people in my country, the Netherlands, but also to everyone else who wants to listen, that it is also in our interest to bring this entire region closer to the levels that we have in Europe, in the European Union, in terms of the rule of law, in terms of democracy, in terms of reliable state institutions. And in that respect, Albania and North Macedonia showed that they are capable of making these reforms, and they need to be rewarded for that, but not because of this membership or this enlargement strategy. No, it is because they belong to Europe. The Western Balkans is already a European region, and these countries deserve the path to the European Union. And we have to start with the countries that are the furthest in that path. And Albania and North Macedonia clearly belong to these countries who deserve this. So yes, you are totally right. This is not just about a membership. This is about a better country, a better Europe for everyone, including the citizens of the Western Balkan countries.
Mr. Roјtен, what do you think? How different will be Europe in the near future or in the further future? What will this crisis in Ukraine, the Russian aggression in Ukraine, will change on the European continent?
Well, I think that there is a time before the 24th of February and after the 24th of February, and certainly this will have a high impact. And I hope that the war will end as soon as possible, as everyone hopes. I think in the meantime, we have to support the Ukrainian people who are bravely fighting for these European values, for democracy, for freedom. We have to support them with everything we have. But yes, this will change Europe, and I hope for the better. I hope for the better. I hope we learn our lesson that you cannot play and discuss and make compromises with autocrats. That is the lesson that we should learn. We should be tough on people like Putin, but also other people with autocratic aspirations, and clearly promote our values, the values that are also shared by many, many people, if not the large majority of people on the Western Balkans, the values of just living your life under the security of a rule of law, under the security of stable state institutions, without corruption, with democratic institutions that are functioning. That is ultimately what all Europeans want. So I think that this is also, as harsh as it may sound, in the middle of a war in Europe, but I think this is also a chance for us to come together and to really bring about the change that is already long overdue, and to really work jointly together with everyone at his own pace, towards a Europe that can really say, look, now we are stronger together.
Mr. Roјtен, I won't be taking more time. I know that it's very, very busy day in Brussels, and that you are very busy. There are a lot of discussions in the EU and the NATO these days. Thank you for being a guest in the Clan debate.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All the best.